Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. No, we're not starting yet. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to share some administrative. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This confirmation hearing conducted by the Committee on Guam, U.S. Military Build-Up Infrastructure and Transportation of Himina 34 na lista Guam, the 34th Guam Legislature is hereby convened. On today's agenda, we do have three confirmations. One is a confirmation of Maria Taitano as a member of the Guam Port Authority of Guam Board of Directors for a term of 3 years, to commence on July 1st, 2017, and to conclude on June 30th, 2020. The second nomination that we will be entertaining is the nomination of Ms. Melanie Mindiola as a member also of the Guam Port Authority Board of Directors for a term of 3 years, from July 1st, 2017, likewise to June 30th, 2020. And then finally, our third appointment confirmation discussion will be on Mr. David Ahrens, member of the Guam Regional Transit Authority Board of Directors for a term of 4 years, from the 1st of April 2017 to March 31st, 2021. In accordance with the open government law, the initial notification was sent out to stakeholders as well as to the media, our media partners, on the 29th of June, and subsequent notice, the 48-hour notice, was sent out on Friday, on July 5th, sent out likewise to the stakeholders and to the members of the media. As we begin, once again, as was mentioned a little earlier, please, ladies and gentlemen, if by any chance you have a cell phone, please place them in silent mode or in vibrate mode so that in fact it does not interrupt the conduct of the confirmation hearing. The first individual, as was mentioned earlier, Ms. Maria Taitano. I would like to invite the following individuals before I call up the nominee. I do have a good number of individuals who have signed in favor of the confirmation, but I only have one individual that has identified or checked off the oral testimony, and that's Mr. Frank Santos. Mr. Santos, if I can invite you up front to provide your testimony. And Ms. Taitano, also, I guess you can join him. If there's anyone else in the audience, because I do not have anyone else submitting oral testimony, if you would like to join us up front, then you're more than welcome to do so. Mr. Santos, if I can ask you to begin the discussion this morning on the confirmation of the appointment of Maria Taitano as a member of the Guam Port Authority Board of Directors. And identify yourself for the record.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, good morning, Alpha Day. It is a great honor and pleasure to be here this morning, to support Ms. Taitano. I duly support her to continue to serve as one of the board directors for the Port Authority of Guam. For the past years, she's been serving a tremendous job for the port, and she wants to make sure that the port will continue to move forward, and she will continue to serve the port and the people of Guam. And I'm asking you this morning, you and your committee, Mr. Chairman, to please find favor for Ms. Taitano to continue to serve as one of the board of directors for the Port Authority of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santos, for your testimony this morning. Mr. Calvo, if you can identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Oscar A. Calvo, and I'm one of the board members. I came here today to seek the support of Maria Taitano and also Melody Bora for both of them. I fully support them. And in the last couple of months that I've worked with these ladies, they've really, put a lot of effort into the board. And I think it's warranted that they should be supported again and get back to the board, because we do need them. And that's my position on this, is to renominate them back, Mr. Senator, brother.
Thank you very much, Mr. Calvo, for your testimony. And Mr. Santos, thank you again for your testimony this morning. Once again, before I provide the floor to the nominee, Ms. Maria Taitano, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to provide testimony? If not, Ms. Taitano, you have the floor. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm honored to be reappointed by Governor Calvo to continue to serve as a member of the board at the Port Authority of Guam, and it is my desire to continue in that capacity. I am Maria Taitano. I come from the beautiful tri-village of Mongmong Totu Maiti, and I am happily married to my best friend John, who's sitting in the audience here. We're blessed with 3 children and 2 wonderful grandchildren. I graduated with honors from Notre Dame High School in 1976, where I earned a merit scholarship to attend the University of Guam. In 1981, I earned a Bachelor of Business degree with concentration in marketing. And my work experience includes 26 years with Stawell Insurance from 1982 to 2008. I did have management positions there. In addition, from 2004 to 2008, I was the acting CEO. I also have, with my management experience, includes the 2 years that I was the Deputy General Manager at the Port Authority. And with that position, I had oversight with, I was Deputy General Manager of Administration and Finance, which covered 7 different divisions of the port. And during my tenure there, I was able to learn port operations and other matters there. I have come full circle in my work career, as I have returned to Stawell. In April of 2015, I was offered an opportunity to go back to Stawell during the change of ownership there. So I currently hold the position of VP of Administration, so I handle HR, compliance, and facilities. I also have retail management experience, as I own, and I am the owner and president of T5 Ventures, which does business as Java Junction. It's a cafe that is being operated by my 2 older children. As far as the board experience, I had 4 years with Stawell Guam Inc. on the board. I am currently the member of the Finance Advisory Council with San Vicente Catholic School. I'm the finance officer with Immaculate Heart of Mary Totu Church. I'm a board member with the Catholic Social Services. I'm a member of the board with the Employers Council, and also the board secretary for ND Alumni Association. So I'm ready. I've been ready. I was on the board. I was confirmed last year, had about 9 months tenure, but we had to complete, of course, the unexpired term. But I'm ready to work with the rest of the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taitano, and thank you also for sharing with the community some of your background information in regards to your contribution to our island of Guam. You know, one thing that always comes to mind is whenever I look at nominees for boards or commission, one thing that's really telling is if they're able to further assist and to contribute to the community in other fashions, in other ways. And just looking at the information that has been provided, you did highlight a few, being a member of the Chamber of Commerce, the Employers Council, also a board member in that capacity, the Women's Chamber of Commerce, also a member, a very active supporter in the San Vicente Catholic School, the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and the Catholic Social Services. That's really reflective of not only your desire, but of course of the desire or the concurrence of your best friend to allow you to be able to reach out to the community and to support our community in different ways. So thank you very much for taking up this request and this call, this nomination by the Governor of Guam to be able to continue to serve on the Port Authority Board. I know that there are some very interesting activities taking place, but I have to admit that in the last 5 months, that not only have I seen and talked verbally with some of the management team members and also the board members about some of the progress that has taken place under the leadership of the present manager. And that's not to say anything about the prior, but under the present general manager and the administration and also the board members. And I'm very pleased to see that, in fact, first of all, our employees at the Port Authority of Guam are being provided with the tools, the equipment, and the resources to be able to carry out their job respectively, and that things have worked out well so far. And one thing under your leadership and the leadership of the board has been certainly an incident that occurred about a year ago, where there were some serious challenges with, I believe, one of the cranes. And the Port Authority reacted or acted very quickly and was able to, with minimal disruption in the operations of the port, continue to provide our community with the services in terms of the transshipment of goods and commodities. To me, that's very telling of not only the operations but also of the board members making sure that policy-wise that the entire Port Authority of Guam is provided the support that they need. So I thank you for taking on this call by the governor, and I certainly look forward to continuing to see your production on the board and also the other board members. So thank you again, Ms. Taitano. Madam Vice Speaker, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony and for being here, and all of you who are here this morning in support of your nomination. Your work, of course, in the community is very well known, and we are all fortunate for that and thankful. And of course, you've been on the board, so we already are able to tell that you are a very responsible board member. I wanted to ask, just for the record, if any of your business involvement or your employment has given you any reason in your experience on the board, or that you can predict would give you any reason to have any kind of conflict with matters regarding the port?
I don't believe so.
All right. And do you feel like you would be able, despite, I mean, you know, you are very well known in the community. I'm sure you have many, many, many friends. And just want to, I guess, again, for the record, ask if you are able to do this independently and regardless of maybe sometimes, you know, I feel like these boards, they have to make these tough decisions that are going to impact sometimes their, you know, our friends, our people who we've known all our lives, and are you able to do that?
Absolutely. I've done it, so I believe, depending on the cause, I would definitely, it's an independent decision.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And I realized that you had to be involved recently in the YTK board decisions, and so I appreciate that. That is a very tough. Those are tough decisions that are coming before the board, and so I respect that you are addressing those very responsibly as much as you can, and that it's tough. So I thank you for your public service. I thank you for agreeing to do this for the longer term, and I look forward to your contributions in this capacity as in all your other capacities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Speaker. And this concludes any statements, unless you have a closing statement, Ms. Taitano. Thank you very much. Just for the general public, the committee will continue to receive written testimony on the confirmation of Mrs. Maria Taitano to serve as a member of the Board of Directors of the Guam Port Authority for the next 10 days, and then we will close out the committee report. So thank you very much, Ms. Taitano. We certainly hope to get your nomination on the next legislative session. Thank you. At this time, I would like to invite the following individuals. The next nominee for consideration is the appointment of Ms. Melanie Mendiola, also as a member of the Port Authority of Guam Board of Directors for a term of 3 years, commencing on July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2020. And those who have checkmarked the oral testimony, I would like to invite forward Mr. Frank Santos, Aaron Blas, Ralph Blas, Oscar Calvo, Mr. Calvo, you already provided most of your testimony in the previous confirmation, so that will be noted in the confirmation report. And then if I can also invite the nominee, she's already up front, Ms. Melanie Mendiola. Mr. Chairman of the Board, if I can ask you to please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning and good day, Mr. Chairman and Senator Talai. Again, I mentioned to you first that it's always a great honor to come before you, especially to testify for Ms. Mendiola. I have a full confidence on her. She has been doing a tremendous job as one of the board of directors. And our mission is to make sure that the fellow board members, management, and the board employees, our desire is to continue to make sure that the board is in good hands, and also to make sure that the board will continue to move forward, and not only to taking care of the board and the people of Guam, but most of all our board employees. And Ms. Mendiola has been doing a tremendous good job. She's young, she's very intelligent. Sometimes she gives us advices to the other board members. But again, hopefully that you consider her to continue to serve as one of the board directors for the Port Authority of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santos. If we can start with, continue with Ms. Taitano, please.
Yes. Hafide, good morning. My name is Maria Taitano. I'm here in support of the nomination for Melanie to continue as a member of the Port Authority of Guam Board of Directors. I knew Melanie socially, and then just in the last 9 months we've been working together on the board, and it is very refreshing to be able to have a mix of seasoned mindsets. You know, you've got the ones that are really seasoned, like the chair, and then you've got maybe me in the middle, and then we've got a brand, you know, she's just getting indoctrinated or baptized into the whole port thing. But it's just a good feeling to be able to have a different mindset in the group, and I'm here to support her nomination, and I would ask for your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taitano. Ma'am, if you can identify yourself for the record and proceed.
I'm Erin Bloss, and we are here to support Mel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bloss.
Hafide, my name is Ralph Bloss. I'm here in support of Ms. Mendiola. She's a loving and committed member of the community and very intelligent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bloss. And thank you, everyone, for your testimony this morning. Now we will allow the nominee to provide any opening comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Madam Vice Speaker. Again, my name is Melanie Mendiola, and I'm very grateful that I have my family as well as friends and my family from the Port Authority here to support me today in seeking my renomination for the Board of Directors of the Port Authority of Guam. Just to give you a little bit of background, my mom is not able to be here with me today. Her name is Sylvia Mendiola, and she's in Korea with my brother Fred and my sister-in-law May and my nephew Noah. He's on the Little League All-Stars team, and they are currently in 3rd place, and looks like that's how it's going to stay. Nonetheless, these boys did a fantastic job, and I think that's an okay reason not to be here today to support me, but I can feel their support from afar. Nonetheless, my father's name was Federico Mendiola. He was a port employee for 8 years under the Atablas administration. And he passed away in 2012. And I also have a sister, Jennifer Mendiola, who passed away in 2013. My family's been involved in politics and community service for a number of years, particularly my uncle, Mayor Nito Blas, my uncle, Defunzun Frank Blas, and as well as others, Tony Blas as well. As far as my educational background, I'm a 99 graduate of the Academy of Our Lady of Guam. I went on to New York University. I graduated from there in 2003. I earned a bachelor's degree in economics as well as East Asian studies. And after that, I as far as education is concerned, I have an MBA from the University of Guam, and I also have a second master's in financial planning from Kansas State University. I was pursuing my PhD, but I think I'm going to take a little break on that, and you'll soon find out why, based on all the involvements I'm going to talk about, including my involvement with the port. I've been fortunate to wear a variety of hats. I started off as an analyst at HSBC Bank in New York. I was a financial advisor over at Merrill Lynch for 4 years. I was a VP at ANZ, and my last role in finance was as a retirement counselor for Empower, who handles the 401A plan for the government of Guam, as well as the 457 deferred compensation plan. During my time at Empower, which was formerly known as Great West, I conducted over 500 seminars in my 4 years there. I met with thousands of employees and talked to them about the importance of saving for retirement. My current job is I'm the project director of Farm to Table, a nonprofit that exists to support local farmers and to grow the agricultural industry on our island. And this departure from my formal finance background has been very, very interesting. I supervise 14 employees, three of my employees are physically disabled. I'm very proud of all the work we do and the progress we've made, and the community's reception has been overwhelmingly positive to all the things that Farm to Table has brought to the community. And I further extend my gratitude to the members of the legislature who have personally and professionally supported not only Farm to Table, but all of our farmers through our CSA, Community Supported Agriculture Program, as well as coming out to lend an ear to the farmers as far as their needs and their concerns. With regard to community involvements, I'm the president of the board of directors of the Guam Girl Scouts. I've been involved with them for about 6 years. I'm also the treasurer of the Tourism Education Council. I'm a member of the Guam Young Professionals, the American Council on Consumer Interests, as well as the YMLG Ladies Auxiliary. Since my last testimony, I helped to found a nonprofit called Teach Money, which is to encourage the people of Guam and the rest of Micronesia to lead more financially healthy lives. And earlier this year, I was awarded the Guam Young Professional of the Year, and this is a distinction I share with my fellow board member Nate Timinglow, as well as with Senator Biscoe Lee. This year, I was also a nominee for Businesswoman of the Year, and as far as special talents, I like to write. I'm a writer. I write stories for I used to write for your local magazines like Guam Business News, Marianas Business Journal. I write grants. I've probably secured about $3 million in grant funding over the last 5 years. A few local businesses will tell you I've written their business plans. Right here in down the street, there's a restaurant called 9th Street Rotary. I wrote their business plan. Gabriel's House of Pasta in Tuman, I wrote their business plan. Lotus Surf Shop, which also happens to belong to my brother, helped him write his business plan. And lastly, in the academic sphere, I'm published. I have a journal article in the Journal of Financial Counseling and Planning on college student financial wellness. And I actually presented twice, 2 years in a row, at a conference for the Association for Financial Counseling and Planning, which is a national association for financial practitioners. I presented twice in a row at their conference, as well as in Korea at their financial planning conference on my research in women who earn more than their spouses. I'm a Catholic. I'm a registered parishioner at Santa Teresita Church, and I'm also a registered Republican. I've not held any leadership positions in either of those capacities, and my membership on the board of directors has been my first involvement in the government of Guam. I also adjunct at the University of Guam. I teach economics. I've taught for the last 2 semesters, and prior to that I taught at Guam Community College as an adjunct as well. Since my unanimous confirmation last year, thank you for that, I believe I've made a productive contribution to the board. Upon first joining, it was a learning curve. The port is an autonomous revenue-generating agency with a lot of responsibilities. I've realized It's a 365-day-a-year, 24-hour operation. There's revenue, managing revenue and overall fiscal management, being conscientious of regulatory entities such as the Coast Guard, EPA. There's employee relations, stakeholder relations, strategic planning, sustainability planning, and I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to spend time with our executive leadership team, Ms. Joanne Brown, Felix Pangilinan, and Alfred Duenas, all of whom I believe are top-notch, as well as my fellow board members who have taught me a great deal, including our chairman, Mr. Frank Santos, and Maria Pangilinan here, who I equally support. And last year during my statement, my personal testimony, I said that my time on the board would engender themes such as building bridges and strategic planning and stakeholder management. Those are the sort of buzzwords that I used. And some of the things that I've been a part of has been raising the pay of the port staff. Prior to the board action, the Port Authority was in the bottom quartile of wages and benefits compared to similar-sized ports across America. And the board unanimously agreed that funds available and if certain performance metrics were met, that we'd agreed to a tiered increase to bring us up to the 50% range in the coming years. Just to kind of give you some context, if you were among the lowest 25%, if the legislature were among the lowest 25%, that would mean each of you would be taking home less than $2,000 a month in pay. And I tend to believe that you get what you pay for. And I know that a lot of times when we take on jobs, when we take on service roles such as being in the legislature or even working for the government of Guam, you don't do it for the money, you do it because you want to serve. Nonetheless, you put yourself at risk when you're not able to meet your basic human needs. And not only that, but the port itself, the entity puts itself at risk because then it becomes a non-competitive in the working environment, and then the island of Guam starts to lose talent to other ports all across America that are higher paid. We're asking our employees to oftentimes put themselves at risk, to answer calmly and rationally to port users, and then also volunteer to build a float for Liberation Day. And we're asking them to do that and be the bottom tier of compensation across America. And the board felt that it was time for that to change. And so that's something that we've done. We've also made the brave decision, I think, of raising the tariff for the next 3 years and then stopping. And I think that my involvement with the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber is vigorously opposed to things like tariff increases, but I think the decision that we made was because was made with a lot of knowledge and with a lot of background information and a lot of that about capital building for the Port Authority and bringing our Port Authority to a level where customers can get things as efficiently and as smoothly as possible. A lot of the capital improvements at the Port Authority were funded by grants, but there's no way we can keep those things maintained unless there's adequate cash flow, and sometimes that comes with the hard decisions such as raising tariffs, and I'm not afraid to make those hard decisions. And then with regard to the very interesting YTK case, from all that I've learned about the case, I believe that it's my responsibility and the people of Guam, on behalf of the people of Guam, to take this to the highest courts in the land. We are looking at questions of sovereign immunity, contract enforceability, and if I were the CEO of a private company, I'd be acting on behalf of my stockholders. I'm acting on behalf of the best interests of the people of Guam, and today that decision is to continue to appeal. Last year I was asked how I would handle the YTK situation, and I described if it were a negative situation, a negative outcome where we would be forced to pay. I called it an income shock, and some of the things I talked about was the ways to address that income shock, and I'm happy to go over that with you again today, but I don't think I need to go into it right now, unless you want me to. Nonetheless, that's pretty much what I have. I thank you for listening to my statement concerning joining the Board of Directors of the Port Authority of Guam, and I humbly ask for your committee's confirmation and or the legislature's expeditious confirmation during its next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mendiola. I was going to highlight some of your contributions to the community. It's very similar to what I provided in terms of background information with Ms. Taitano, but I think you've done an excellent job in terms of highlighting some of the challenges that the court's going through at this point in time, some of the concerns that you have with regards to personnel, and then also highlighting some of your extracurricular outside support to the community, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, the business community, or any of your ongoing business activities out there. So I want to just thank you very much for taking on the call of the governor. And Ms. Taitano, I don't think I mentioned this during the course of your confirmation, but you both certainly have my support. I would not have expedited this particular confirmation hearing if I did not recognize the contribution that both of you have made and continue to make as a member of the board of the Port Authority of Guam. So thank you very much for extending that support. And let me just add one additional caveat to the entire nomination of the two of you. Is when you have Port Authority of Guam employees of the agency who are present here, and a few of them have come in, signed in, showed their support, and then had to leave and report back to the work. But when you have a good number of them who are here putting their name to paper and expressing their support for both of your nominations, I think that speaks volumes in regards to how you're treating your employees, how the administration is at the Port Authority is taking care of the employees or trying to address actively some of their concerns. So thank you again for taking up the mantle of call from the governor in terms of serving in this capacity. I look forward to your continual service. You highlighted some of the challenges, some of the impending challenges that remain, so we certainly hope that there will be positive outcomes with regards to that. But thank you again for accepting the governor's nomination. Madam Vice Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Mendiola, for your testimony and for all of you in support of her, and for all of you present in support of her nomination. I think it's a good nomination that the governor made, and because we've been able to see your work at the port also, I'm also very confident in voting for you again.
Thank you very much.
I want to congratulate you on your accomplishments so far. I think I'm a big fan of your farm to table, but all the other accomplishments, I mean, I don't know which one is more important to you, but they're all very significant. So congratulations on that. I'm glad that in your testimony you pointed out, the challenges the port faces, and those are some of the things. Yeah, I'm very glad to hear about. It is difficult to raise tariffs. I mean, and so those are the very, very hard decisions, the YTK that you pointed out, that had to be made, and you're going to have to continue to make those.
Yes.
I like the port is, of course, it's important in so many ways, and you mentioned many of those, and I just want to say also that the port is really our link, to an economy. It's our link to the world economy, our link to an independent economy. We want to do that, and so what we do with it today, I mean, I'm trusting that you also are going to have that vision, for the future of the potential of the port for all of us, and we put a lot of trust. I think the community of Guam puts a lot of trust in our board at the port to think big, and
yes, thank you.
So I just also want to ask you for the record, do you think that any of your involvement in your current employment or the nonprofit, I guess, or your community involvement would give you any reason to have conflict with the business of the port?
No, not at this time.
All right. And that you be able to act independently and despite friendships or family connections, to act in the best interest of the people of Guam while you're at the port?
Oh, certainly. And I think, Vice Speaker, you're an attorney by background, and I know that I have a lot of attorney friends, and I know that something that is always a concern is that, I always admire how on one hand you can go into court and duke it out, and then you can go to Carmen's and have a margarita. And I think that I strive to emulate that as well in my board responsibility.
I think it's hard, even in this this role that I'm in now, I feel it's my responsibility to ask the questions and state when I think things are not clear or not transparent, because we are acting on behalf of other people and not just us. And it's not just whether I trust, one of my colleagues or not. It's whether, we can all know what is going on. So, we're trusting you, and I think, again, good nominations. And so, if there's any support that we can give to either of you in your capacity on the board, please let us know. And we look forward to your confirmation and your service. Jesus Masi.
Thank you.
Thank you very much again, Ms. Mendiola. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Speaker. Just for the record, for the public, let me just make one final comment before I make the admin remarks. Ms. Mendiola, the farm to table. Obviously, you know my background and really having grown up on the farm. And that to me, if there's anything that hits a home run with regards to getting my support, is being able to find a way to support our farmers in any fashion. And just that program itself, and I've heard a lot of success stories in terms of the farm to table. You've done an outstanding job in terms of trying to get that not only off the ground, but get the farmers actively involved. So I encourage you to continue that success program, and I look forward to that. And I just wanted to highlight that because really that speaks volumes about our economy and to me a lot about our background here in Ireland. So you have my support. Congratulations, and we look forward to presenting your nomination at the next legislative session. For the record, the committee will continue to accept written documents or testimonies on the nomination of Ms. Mendiola to the Board of Directors of the Port Authority of Guam for the next 10 days, and then we will be closing out the committee report. Thank you very much again, folks. Have a good day. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. David Aarons, who has been appointed as a member of the Guam Regional Transit Authority Board of Directors for a term of 4 years, from April 1st, 2017 to March 31st, 2021. And if I can also invite Mr. Enrique Augustine, if you would like to join us up front on this nomination. Mr. Augustine, did you want to provide some comments? Please, if I can ask you to identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony this morning.
Good morning, Mrs. Chair, Madam Vice Speaker. My name is Enrique Augustine. I'm the Executive Manager for the Guam Regional Transit Authority. The Guam Regional Transit Authority is an autonomous agency created by Public Law 30-05. The law allows GRTA to have 7 board members. I'm here in support of Mr. David Aarons as a nominee for the GRTA Board of Directors. Mr. Aarons is a paratransit rider and frequently uses Guam's only public transit system. Due to his disability, he uses the bus for his medical appointments 3 times a week, and on other times goes to places which help him lead a normal life. He goes to such places as a grocery store, pay his bills, go to the movie theaters, go to the mall, or just anywhere that he chooses to go. He uses the public transit buses as a necessity and not necessarily as a luxury or convenience. Mr. Aarons has both positive and negative experiences when using public transit. However, unlike others in his situation, he voices his complaint in a respectful manner, but most importantly, he offers his suggestion in finding ways to improve our transport system. He is volunteering his time and his engineering background to help improve our public transit system. GRTA was created in March 2009, 8 years ago. Since then, we have not been able to fill 2 vacant board member positions, which is necessary to ensure we have a sufficient number of members to attend meetings and have a quorum. Mr. Aarons is a well-educated person. His work experience before he became disabled shows evidence, ample evidence, that he is fully capable of becoming a productive board member, and his involvement will greatly benefit the community, especially those who rely on public transit. GRTA intends on working with the Guam Legislature, the Governor, and the GRTA Board of Directors to move forward with implementing the GRTA Master Plan, also known as the Transit Business Plan, approved back in 2010. The Guam Regional Transit Authority is one of 3 transportation agencies operated by the government of Guam, as the only, and it is the only remaining transportation agency that has not been appropriately funded to execute on their master plan. We need a person such as Mr. David Aarons here, so he may utilize his experience and expertise in the field of engineering and to assist GRTA move forward with the implementation and funding of the Guam Regional Transit Authority Master Plan. I am here to humbly request that the appointment of and the confirmation of Mr. David Aarons be approved by this legislature.
Thank you very much, Mr. Augustine, for your testimony this morning. Ms. Aarons, if you can identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony, please.
My name is David Aarons. I'm here on behalf of GRTA and to offer my expertise and some issues I have with improvement. And if you have any questions.
Is that your testimony, Ms. Aarons?
There it is. Okay. I have prepared a written testimony on obtaining a board member position on Guam Regional Transit Authority. I've been with paratransit for about 3.5 years, going to from doctor's appointments and dialysis treatment 3 times a week. During the years of commuting with paratransit, I have conducted or concluded that there's room for improvement in navigating to and from our scheduled time and destinations. GTRA shall develop technical support on mapping to aid dispatch on locating passengers at the residence villages around the island. I shall commit to volunteer as a board member to render any assistance in engineering technical support to benefit our public transportation. I have submitted a proposal to the GRTA board for all dialysis patients for Medicaid to fund their transportation to and from dialysis centers. The Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Inspector General, non-emergency transportation for dialysis patients, 42 CFR, which is Code of Federal Regulations, 431-53, Medicaid regulation states that Medicare agencies shall ensure necessary transportation to all recipients and to and from dialysis centers. Thank you for this opportunity to express my written testimony.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aarons, for your testimony this morning. And thank you also for accepting the governor's nomination to serve on the board of directors of the Guam Regional Mass Transit or Transit Authority. One thing about your particular appointment is that you use the system every single day. And it is, from your perspective, granted it's mandated and it's a requirement by law, it's your perspective that, to me, adds so much more to the discussion on the board. Because by virtue of writing the transportation and using the system itself, you bring that unique perspective in terms of how it can be improved, what needs to be tweaked, and how to better serve the customer base of the entire island community. So I appreciate the perspective that you're bringing to the table. My issue is, Well, first of all, my question is, have you served in the past, or is this your first appointment?
I can't hear, sir.
Is this your first appointment?
Yes.
To the board. Okay, then just having been a writer of the system for the last few years, can I ask you a general question? How would you propose to improve the system as a member of the board?
Well, I would say that funding is the number one issue. We have problems with getting lost, looking for residents. There's a lot of driving around and wasting time and actually and fuel at the same time, because we don't have a navigation system for the drivers to look at on your cell phone. That's not available at this time. So
I think that certainly funding is something that can assist the system, but in most instances,
we really need the funding for that.
No, I understand. But in most instances, there are different funding sources that could be made available or tapped into, and that's either the federal transportation grants to augment any local funds that are provided. And to me, it's looking at what is provided to the agency within that 1 year time frame and making the best and the most effective use of those limited resources. You know, we're going through the budget process, and a number of agencies are asking for more resources. The reality of the government at this point in time is that there are challenges. We need to be able to make sure that when the legislature appropriates funds in any particular fiscal year, that those funds are dedicated, will be realized, collected, generated, and are dedicated towards that particular agency. So I think that it's not only about throwing more resources or more funds to the agency. It's about making sure that what is provided is utilized to the best that it can be used for, stretching that dollar or stretching that $2 that is provided, whatever the case may be. And that I think is very, very critical to this process. And I'm speaking from a perspective of having served in an agency where in the 2 fiscal years that I was the director, that the legislature came in and said, we're reducing your budget and we're redirecting it to other areas that they felt at that point in time was a priority. So I had to reconfigure, notify the legislature that with the resources you're providing, this is what we will provide. And we will provide it to the best in terms of making sure that the people of Guam get the most bang for their buck. So to me, you're absolutely right. More resources can be provided, but it's that assurance that the people of Guam are getting the best for the resources or the funding that the agency gets. So, and it all comes back to you, Ms. Ahrens, because you're bringing your perspective as a writer, as a user of the system, to the table. And you're saying, these are the challenges, or at least I anticipate that your contribution is going to be, these are the challenges that I experience every single day, and these are the challenges that many of the writers that I sit in the same bus or the same paratransit system are expressing. Now, it's sharing that perspective with the board members, and then likewise with members of the legislature, members of the governor's office, so that we can collectively work towards improving the system for the benefit of all of the writers out there. So I certainly look forward to your contribution from that perspective, and I hope that you actively give your recommendations and your suggestions. And it's not only towards we need more funding, we need more funding. No, it's about maximizing what you have and going after additional resources, whether it's federal grants or other sources out there that could conceivably be available, so that in fact the Guam Regional Transit Authority can provide the best services within reason of what resources they receive. So I'll leave it at that, and thank you very much for offering the services to the community. Madam Vice Speaker?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony. And Mr. Ahrens, thank you for agreeing to this nomination. I also think it's important that your perspective as a writer is going to be very important for the board. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions that I got out of your packet. The packet that was submitted in support of your nomination it just has some, for example, the employment history. Under employment history, it's not completely filled out, the position and the dates held, but it said you worked for the U.S. Navy in Dallas, Texas. And in another section, I see that you were in the Navy from 1986 to 2006. And did you work for the Navy after that?
No, did not.
All right. Okay, can I ask what you did after that?
Say again?
Can I ask what you did after that?
Basically, after that, it was just more of a freelance or research, studying and stuff. I didn't do too much work.
What about this Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, job title Oceanic Atmospheric Research Projects from 1995 to 2008?
Yes, that was a research project that we did.
Is that when you were out of the Navy or
yes,
while?
That was out of the Navy.
That's part of your freelancing? Is that what you're saying? Oh, okay. Okay, I guess my issue is that the dates overlap, so it's not clear which part of this you did, while you're in the Navy or outside. What other kind of work did you do, may I ask, in your freelance work?
Actually, it was more construction on elevators, escalators, and that was about it.
When was this publication? It says you published a research paper on environmental dangers on using ionosphere heaters on weather modifications and geoengineering.
That was a weather modification program that we did that was also in the Navy.
That was part of your work in the Navy while you were a member of the service? Okay. All right. How long have you been on Guam, may I ask?
I'm sorry?
This was all done in Dallas.
Yes.
When did you come to Guam? Or how long have you been on Guam?
Over about 4 years. I came in 2009.
All right. And have you worked while you were here?
No.
All right. Do you believe your background is going to help the board? That you, in addition to being a writer, that your background, your education, or your research or your training is going to assist the board in its review of the strategic plan or implementing the strategic plan that they've already produced? Or making it better? I understand your suggestion for navigation systems for the drivers.
Yes.
That must be implemented. Yeah. Are there any other? Can you describe for us maybe how you think how your background is going to assist the board?
Yes. My background to assist the board would be more or less into navigation to and from appointments and time scheduling. Also would be into the mechanics of vehicles, such as normally putting in equipment that like a camera and recording devices, getting research and doing that.
You have experience with that?
Yes.
Is that in the Navy?
No.
Oh. Where's that experience from?
That's just more or less my own research.
All right. I note that your education is very impressive. Wait. In fact, I had to keep rereading it to make sure I was reading the correct thing. It says you have a degree in aerospace engineering?
Yes.
And biomedical sciences?
Yes.
And you attended the University of Harvard Law School correspondence courses for U.S. Navy Maritime Admiralty Law?
Yes.
When was that?
I believe that was back in 94, somewhere around that time. It's been a while.
What is this training at the National Transportation Safety Board? It says training, aircraft accident, aviation safety, FAA accidents, incident data systems.
Yes, that was a liaison.
Between who?
With the Navy.
And then avionics maintenance technician?
Yes.
That also was some
in the Navy.
Training you got while you were in the Navy?
That's right.
Okay. So the degrees, actually, you obtained your degrees in the middle of your service in the Navy also?
Yes.
But your degrees are from Amber University in New York?
Yes.
Where did you serve in the Navy? It says U.S. Navy, Dallas, Texas on your...
That's where I went to San Diego. And then after that, we've been assigned to different parts of the world assignments. So.
All right. Were you ever stationed on Guam?
No.
All right. Just curious. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ahrens, for your testimony. And again, thank you, Mr. Nicholas.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Mr. San Agustin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Speaker and Mr. Ahrens and Mr. Augustine. Thank you for your testimonies this morning. The committee will continue to receive written testimony on the confirmation of Mr. David Ahrens to serve as a member of the Board of Directors for the Guam Regional Transit Authority for the subsequent 10 days from today, and then we will conclude and close out the committee report. Just for the record, to the members of the community, this particular appointment meets a requirement of a ridership member on the Board of Directors for the Guam Regional Transit Authority. So that's, like was mentioned a little earlier, Mr. Ahrens, certainly that's a perspective that we want you, or at least from my perspective, I would like you to, I encourage you to contribute towards the board so that we can improve the system overall. So thank you very much again, and please have a good day. This concludes the confirmation hearing of the 3 nominees, and we conclude today. Have a good day, everyone.